Hey guys, I'm just going to throw together one of the lunches that, or the lunch that we're prepping for the Reset Challenge. You've got to excuse me, we've got kids running everywhere and a bit of a mess because we're getting ready for a ball this afternoon, but I thought I'd throw this one together. We'll do the breakfast tomorrow and we'll do some dinners as well. But this is, if you set a watch, this will just show you how quickly you can put it together, okay? So I've got all the ingredients out. A lot of the ingredients are going to be interchangeable, so you'll be able to throw in cucumber, spinach, like whatever you want. It's pretty interchangeable, so don't stress too much. I'll talk about the key ingredients that you've just got to be aware of with the amounts of these foods. And they are the kidney beans and chickpeas. Excuse my daughter there. So there's 2 cans of these, okay, and then the net weight of these cans is about 250 grams. So this is going to do 7 lunches, right? So I've got 2 cans, which means it's about 500 grams net weight, which divided by 7, it's about 70 grams really of chickpeas and kidney beans combined. You can use any beans, don't get too bogged down on what they're having. You can, if you want a bit of chicken or something in there instead, but I mean, I'm a meat eater, but I like to have a few vegetarian meals a week just because of what the evidence says. Great for your brain, great for your heart, great for your bowel. Now, these always go in first at the bottom because you then put in your dressing, right? And then the dressing is a balsamic vinegar, or you can use a bit of lemon and mustard or whatever you want. But if the beans are in the bottom, then they're not going to spoil. So you put all your sort of hard veggies in the bottom. Hopefully I've got enough balsamic. Now if I don't, which I'm probably not going to, I think I've got a bit of red wine vinegar that you can throw in. Actually I've got a bit more balsamic, which is lucky. So I just pour in enough to sort of cover the beans. And that's about as scientific as I get with it, because I mean, over the week, I'm going to get a pretty equal share. So the next thing I'll throw in here, so I'm calling this, is carrot, because this is one of the hard veggies that I can put in the bottom. I'm just going to show you my little sous chef who's going to help me. You want to help Daddy? So I'll put in carrot and beetroot. You helping Daddy? This is Andy, everyone. So hello. Normally if I was doing a video on this, I'd actually have all this chopped up, throw it together, but I'm going to bore you today just to chop it all up in front of you, just so you can actually see how long it takes. That's a pretty big carrot, this one. You want to chop it up small enough that you can eat it. Oops. Mummy? Losing a bit. And then the beetroot. So net weight of the beetroot in the can, I think was about 250 grams as well. So it's a 400 gram can, but a lot of it's just all the juice. So again, I just sort of spread it out so it's enough. Now, the idea of prepping is that, if I was to make a healthy salad, and to be honest, if I wasn't prepping it, I'm probably less likely to because of the effort of getting all of this stuff out. But if I'm making them all up in bulk, I've only got to do it once. So it's a big time saver from that perspective. And we find massively that we don't, so I'll probably throw in something like capsicum next. We don't have any leftovers at the end of the week. We've used it all up, which is really good. The fridge and the cupboard are pretty bare, so it's, some of you, if you go and get all the ingredients, I think it might be about 120 bucks or something, depending on the meals you choose. But the benefit there is that you don't waste any, or you waste a lot less. And then you're also less likely, if you prepare all these meals, you're less likely to get takeaway, because we certainly go get takeaway if we don't have food here. That's where we're most vulnerable to going and getting it. So a lot of these foods, so really the foods in here highest in calories are your beans, walnuts, which are really good for you, but they are high in calories. I stick olives in there for a bit of flavour. And then what else? That's pretty much it. Like, they're the things highest in calories. So you've got to be aware of the amount of them that you throw in there. I've got a bit of feta cheese I'm going to put in. So if you wanted to, you've got to be aware of the amount of feta maybe. But that's about it. Like, you know, if you want to throw avocado in, you'd be aware because it's a little bit high in calories. But, you know, like the rest of it, you don't have to get too bogged down. Even though the recipe says there's 60 grams of that, 30 grams of this, or whatever it might be, just fill your jars with whatever you like. These are what we call neutral energy foods. Some people call them negative energy foods, but they're not quite negative energy, I'd say. But the amount of kilojoules that you derive from these are offset by, you know, how many kilojoules the body would need to break them down. So there's our capsicum done. We might throw in a bit of cucumber. Now celery, I dislike celery. I was, back in the Sizzler days, I would get the seafood salad, even though there's no seafood in the seafood salad either, but I grab the seafood salad and pull the celery out. But I've come around to it. I still don't love the flavour, but it's really high in potassium and nitrates, which is really good for blood flow. Really, potassium is actually really important for muscle. Like when you're in calorie deficit, you need enough potassium as well, potassium, magnesium. And celery is really potent with it. It's got quite a lot in there. So I've really come around to celery. And it, you know, yes, it's a little bit bitter, but in a dish like this, the things I use to flavour it, and everyone can use things slightly differently, but I mean, we've got olives, gherkins, beetroot, balsamic vinegar, and a bit of feta, and that's where you get most of your flavour from. So things like celery are sort of drowned out by the balsamic, and they're actually then quite nice, you know, so you don't have to stress too much about it. Thank you, Bubba. Alright, and then parsley, mushrooms, olives, a bit of feta.
No mushrooms.
Oh, no mushrooms, I'm being told. But you can put mushrooms in. I think the mushrooms are for another dish. Parsley's another one, really high in nitrates. Leave it there, bud. Really high in nitrates. So anyone trying to reduce their blood pressure, you want lots of nitrates. Any athletes that, you know, endurance athletes that are doing the running, cycling, you want some nitrates because it opens up the blood vessels, better circulation. Oh, pretty. Andy, yeah, she's pretty. Oh, is it stuck in your knot? Cherry tomatoes, fresh tomatoes, normal common tomatoes are fine as well. Don't stress too much. These can, so you put these in towards the end because if these were sitting in the vinegar, they'd sort of wilt. Be no good, but on the top they're fine. Cucumber's cucumber's probably one of the food's lowest in kilojoules. So if you like a bit of cucumber, you can load up on it. We've got little baby cukes here. I think I've got a big cuke, I'll put the big one in. Now someone was asking about the size of the jars. These I think are about a 750ml, but you know, you can get a bigger one. Depends on the person, if you want a bigger meal. If you put all of this information into Easy Diet Diary, it's going to tell you that there's about 1300 kilojoules or something in it. But the thing is, with all the kilojoules in these foods here, they're a lot of the neutral energy foods. So yes, they might be providing those kilojoules going in, but they're not necessarily what's absorbed because of the cost of what it would take for the body to digest them all. So, you know, as opposed to something that's highly processed, if it's like, let's say a meat pie, if it was 1300 kilojoules going in, you're likely to absorb it because it's been processed and is readily absorbed. Whereas this stuff, your body's got to work really hard to absorb it all. Cucumber. Now basically then, these hold pretty well in the mason jars, but we sometimes won't have enough mason jars, so we use Tupperware containers or something to fill it up. And that seeds us out. Brother's starting to get a bit rowdy. Now make sure I get in the flavours. I was never one to like gherkins either, but they've actually really grown on me. They actually have a little bit of a sweetness to them. They are sitting in a bit of sugar and brine there, but the amount that's in it, you know, is bugger all once you pull it out of there, and the amount that you eat. But these add a nice flavour with the olives and feta. So I've pretty much got a gherkin per jar. And they're not in this recipe. That you'll see that we've got loaded up there, but we created that recipe a while ago. And like I said, you know, like the amount of food in here, this is why you don't need to be exact. The type of foods that are in here have you know, a lot of leeway with it. You can interchange them with the foods that you like, because the salads don't have a lot of kilojoules in them. Alright, so there's the gherkins, and now the olives. Now olives are another one that I never used to be a big fan of, but my wife is. And they've really grown on me now. So these are really providing salt. So I just add 4 each one. Kids running everywhere. 4 more. Done. Now, walnuts, really high in kilojoules, but really good for you, anti-inflammatory. They add a little bit of texture to it, so you only need a few in each one. They have like a bit of a buttery taste, so they're pretty nice. But yes, these are high in kilojoules, so just be mindful of the amount going in. Sweet. And then a little bit of feta. I haven't put spinach, but I'll throw a bit of spinach in there as well. Now, 20 grams of feta per thing. This is a 200 gram container. We've probably used about 50 grams. So I've probably got about 140 grams left, roughly. I'll chop it into 1, 2, 3 into 7 rows. Yep. I can break that up. And that's going to be close to 20 grams each, which is close enough. Might be slightly over there, might have a bit more than the 140. But this is the approach that I encourage you to take to kilojoules. It's important to be aware of them. Never think you've got to be exact, because it's impossible. Okay? Kilojoules are pretty complicated, but you know, being blind to them is a real problem. So, you know, like even with these, if we had like anywhere from, say, you can probably have these quite as low as 1,000 kilojoules or up to about 1,800, depending on the person. You know, these are like a kilo of body fat's worth about 30,000. So just to give you some sort of idea on how much room you've got, if you're out by a bit, don't stress. And particularly with this kind of food, there's a huge calorie cost in breaking this food down. Your body's got to work hard to break it down, and that's a good thing, because it means it's like doing exercise, but it's really exercising just through the digestion of your diet. So I'll stuff all that in. These keep for a good week. What are we there? So we're about on 15 minutes. So as you can see, there's 7 lunches done in about 15, say with clean up 15, 20 minutes. Camera equipment 25, 30 minutes. But you know, like if I had to pull all this stuff out every day of the week, it's still going to take me pretty much the same. So it's a big time saver, and now there's all my lunches done for the week. So yeah, pretty simple. They're actually really delicious. When you're done, tip them up, throw them in a bowl, and that way all the dressing then goes over everything. And they're a really, really healthy lunch, and you'll feel great with it. All right, let us know what you think.